Talking Music with Big Andy. Hello and welcome to Talking Music with Big Andy. This week I have the pleasure to have with me Tara Lynch. Hello, Tara. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Now, for anybody that doesn't know what you do, I've got to say, I only came across you really recently, and the first thing that I thought was, how have I missed knowing about this woman?
I hear that a lot.
Because you are I mean you are incredible. How many instruments is it you play? Is it 7?
Guitar, bass, drums, piano, which is the same as keyboards. Basically, if you can hit it, strum it, you know. The only thing I can't do is woodwinds.
Oh, right. Okay.
Let's put it that way. It's easier to say what I can't do. I'm just naturally inclined toward music. I always have been.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've been in the music business for quite a few years, but it's only recently that you've actually kind of been making your own music and putting out records and things. What have you been doing before that?
Well, I've only really been in the music business since, let's say when I started recording my record and started working on it, which would be 2016, and it was released in 2018. Right. 2016, I started writing it, let's put it that way. So that's really when I decided to go pro. Prior to that, it was just a very serious hobby of mine. I played since I was a child, but I'd never wanted to do it professionally prior to that. It was important to me as a woman to have all experiences in my life. I wanted to have a husband and family, children, and I'm not the kind of mom that would say, bye kids, mom's going on tour, have fun with the nanny or whatever. I don't do that. I wanted to raise my sons, and I did. And when they got to an age where it was clearly obvious I could start focusing on my own career again, that's when I decided to take it professionally. So, and prior to having the kids, I actually owned and operated my own accounting firm. So,
all right,
numbers girl too. I've got left brain and right brain.
That's cool. It's really cool. But I mean, you have made connections with and become friends with an incredible roster of famous names.
That's living in Los Angeles. I mean, because I've always been into music, we've always gone to shows, we've always gone to events and things like that. You end up meeting some of these people, and depending on who you are, I guess, and your personality or whatever, you end up becoming actual friends. You go to their houses, we celebrate our birthdays and our anniversaries and things like that together. And, then you meet many others at these parties that we both know, and the group just gets larger. So by the time I decided to go professionally, it was easy for me to call up my friends and say, hey, do you want to play on my first record?
Well, I mean,
and they were like, wait a minute, you write music? What? I mean, they didn't because I don't go around wearing it like a badge.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I
they
mean, this is.
heard it and they
I
were
mean,
like, oh,
you've. I mean, from what I've read online, you've studied with Steve Vai, Derek
yeah,
Sherinian, and Chad Smith,
yeah.
which is, I mean, that in itself is a that's a super group waiting to happen.
Well, so I happen to know these guys, and it's like I already play the instruments. I'm already accomplished at the instruments. So when you're already accomplished at your instrument, you never want to stop learning and you never
No,
want to stop honing your craft. So when I say, I didn't take lessons, I studied with them, which means I already came knowing how to play the instrument. And, Derek came over, sat at the piano over here with me and, was showing me some like Beatles stuff and really cool, moves and stuff on the piano. And Tony McAlpine's been over doing the same thing. Chad, I met through a charity organization, and we went over to SIR and we had, matching drum kits and just jammed together for a few hours. Like, it was really fun. And we've, seen each other again since then and stuff. I mean, you just end up making friends in this business. And,
yeah,
and yeah, when I say study with, like I said, so Chad sits down and he's like, all right, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, you know what? I want to know that move you do in Breaking the Girl, because that's a little tricky. So stuff like that,
yeah,
for fun, just to improve my own playing.
yeah.
For
No,
improvement.
I understand that completely. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just fantastic that you have access to these people who are,
Yeah.
virtuosos in their own right,
Yeah.
and you can learn from them, even if it's only just little techniques or little bits and pieces. It's really.
Yeah.
So your first album, which came out in 2018, Evil Enough,
Yep.
which I think is brilliant. Well,
Thank you.
absolutely brilliant. Now, on that album, you had guest artists. You had Video Peace,
Yeah.
Tony McAlpine, Phil Suzanne, Mark Beals, Brent Woods, Glenn Sobel, and Bjorn England.
Yes.
Now, I've got to say, I've been a Black Sabbath fan since I was a teenager, and I don't
Me
know.
too.
The fact that you had Video Piece on there, but anybody who shared a stage with Ronnie James Dio, I have huge amount of admiration for, because just being in his presence must have been fantastic.
He plays on all of my stuff. He's on all my new stuff too. It's
Yeah,
coming out.
no,
Yeah.
Tony McAlpine is interesting. A lot of my friends, when that whole guitar virtuoso thing happened,
Yep.
and hit big, we were all into Steve Vai, because I think he was the first one we saw. And then after that, it was like a lot of my friends seem to be into Vinnie Moore, who I like, but
Yep.
I was always more into Tony McAlpine.
Yep.
I don't know why, but it was something about his playing just really grabbed me. And I still think he's a genius. It's just.
He is a genius. You don't know the half of it. Blows my mind.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So I mean, what's it like working with people like that? I know. I mean, from things I've seen, from things I've heard, these guys don't have this huge ego, and they, they don't have that kind of like, the big I am sort of. So is it just great fun working with people with that much talent?
It is. It is great fun. It's not intimidating at all whatsoever. But again, remember, these guys are my personal friends. I already had a relationship with them for
Yeah.
years. I mean, years before I ever decided to make a record. And they knew that I was, they knew that I played, but they never heard it. They never heard me play, because I would never play in front of them. Oh my God, I'd faint, and because they're my heroes. They just happen to be my friends too. So, I was over at Steve's house, and Steve, he's got this harmony hut with much like what you see behind me, but like times a million, all over the room, and it's beautiful and everything. And we're sitting there, we're talking about the business, and he's showing me some cool stuff, and some cool licks and stuff like that. And basically he's like, what you're doing, you've got this, just you don't let anybody scare you,
Yeah.
and he was right. And I never have, and nobody does. So it's very easy for me to the bottom line is we are all musicians. We're all part of a culture and a group.
Yeah.
Nobody walks on water. We can all get sick. We can all die. The bottom line is we're all doing the same thing. Some of them do it in front of more people, and some of them do it in front of less people, and some of them don't do it in front of people at all.
Yeah.
But we're musicians. So why would I feel intimidated just because they decided to go further than I had decided to go at that point? So
I see that.
when I record with these guys, it's very easy for me. And part of it is I wrote everything. There's no collaboration. I wrote everything.
Yeah.
So when I wrote everything, and I record all the demos myself, so I do the drums, the bass, the guitar. I literally give them a finished demo, as if a band played it, only I'm playing everything.
Right.
And I'm singing everything. I give them a song to listen to, and I say, do you want to record this?
Yeah.
And they're like, where the hell have you been hiding all of this? How they couldn't believe what I was like doing in the background. Because they're used to me just showing up at the party and just going, hi.
But no, I must admit that the first album is fantastic. There isn't a thing I've heard off the album that I haven't liked.
Oh, thank you. That's a great compliment.
It really does. It's got so much. It's got so much talent in it. It's so much punch and drive and energy.
Yeah.
Throughout the album, it's just I love it. I really do.
Thank you.
You went on tour, in 2019 with UFO.
I did, yeah.
And then you were on the Megadeth Mega Cruise thing with lots of other bands.
Oh yeah.
Which must have been quite incredible being on the. It's that thing of being on the ship with the other bands and the fans, and just sort of like the whole experience must be incredible.
It is so much fun. It's so much fun because I love to meet the fans and I love to just get involved with everything. And it was just absolutely great fun. And the guy that runs all of those cruises, Larry Morand, is a super guy who takes such good care of the artists and really makes it just a wonderful experience for everybody. No hassles. I couldn't believe how easy and smooth it all was. It was just brilliant. I was delighted to be a part of it.
Yeah, okay, it sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
And then you toured, you carried on touring with Last in Line.
Yep. Yep.
Um, then you had an enforced break because of the COVID
COVID. Yeah.
thing, all that sort of thing. But then you carried on the tour with Lost in Line and with Vinnie Moore.
Got to keep going.
So, I mean, that must have been quite weird breaking the tour up like that.
It was awful. It was awful to have to do that. And I lost so much momentum.
Yeah.
And, you know, I used to have a Facebook page with over 100,000 people on it. And that got hijacked. And
Oh,
I got as far as talking to management at Meta, and they said, we can't help you. It's
yeah.
gone. They deleted it. They took it, stole it, deleted it. Like, it's gone. And I was like, are you kidding me? So I have to start from zero again. Maybe there's, I don't know, 5,000 people on there now, but it's like, I couldn't believe that I had to start all over again. And you know, why Facebook? Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, our demographic, the people that like this kind of stuff, that's their mecca for communicating with the artists, learning about tours, all that stuff. Like, you have to have a presence there when you try to book shows. If you
Yeah.
don't have a big presence there, that becomes a problem. They're like, well, how can you sell tickets when you only have, you
Yeah.
know, a few? So I'm now in the process of trying to build that up again, by promoting my latest single that I released last January, and I've got more stuff coming out, and then I'll be releasing a record. We're actually recording right now. I was just in the studio with Vinny recently, and you know, it's like just having to start again. COVID really kicked me back.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
but that's okay.
a lot of bands were having, had that problem with the whole COVID and thing. That a lot of the bands that I've talked to, smaller bands especially, have said that they tried to spend as much time as they could during that time writing and recording. So were you doing the same sort of thing?
Well, I was writing, but I couldn't record because we couldn't get together.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Everybody was locked up, quarantined, whatever. We couldn't get together. So
yeah,
it was, you know, I couldn't start the recording process. So after everything was done and everything opened up again, I got right back out on the road,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
continued because I feel like I don't care what year Evil Enough was released. That album deserves to be supported on the road for as long as it takes to hit all the territories I want to hit. And I still
absolutely.
haven't hit them all. I still haven't hit them all, but at this point, I have to come out with the next record, and then I have to just bring both into my shows. You know,
Yeah,
so I'll be playing a lot of Evil Enough in my shows, as well as the new stuff. So
it's not a
it'll be
bad.
more. No, it's
It's
not
not
a
a
bad
bad thing.
thing.
So the new single came out in January, called Badassery,
Yeah.
which from what I've read is kind of about it's kind of about your love of fast cars and just basically being a badass.
I guess so. Yeah. When I'm not playing my guitar, I'm racing. So I like to go and I drive road tracks. So I
Right.
go out to Big Willow, and I've raced in Arizona at the Indy Sports Motor Ranch, and mostly exhibitions, charities, things like that. I don't do it professionally, obviously, but I'm a very serious racing hobbyist.
Cool.
So yeah,
No,
that that
that's cool.
that
That's
song
really
is
cool.
about my love for the track. You know, I love the racetrack. It's great, fun.
So the you got new stuff coming out. You're
I do.
recording new things, and you got
Yeah.
when's the next release going to be?
I was hoping to make it for the fall, but unfortunately it's taking a while because of everybody's schedules. And so now, you know, I do all of the vocals, I do all of the guitars. Vinny plays drums, you know, I've got a bass player, I'm not going to mention yet, but all that stuff is going to be coming out. But you know, it's a very long process because I'm having to do most of the work, obviously, and I'm only
Yeah,
one person. And it's like you play guitar for, you know, a few hours in a day. You don't want to record guitar after a couple of hours because you're just simply not playing like you did 2 hours ago. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you don't want tired recording. You don't want, you know. Um, well, I should say a few hours, but yeah, so it's like, because, you record tracks, you double them, and then you record harmonies and melodies, and it's like, your ears. Well, my hands are fine. It's really my ears that get tired. You just get tired of listening after, after a while. So, we try to keep it to, like a 4-hour session each time. And, I'm not 25 anymore. So just saying.
I wouldn't
I
dream of
don't wanna,
asking
like,
you.
overdo it.
I wouldn't dream of asking you your age.
I'm sure we're in the same age group, you and me.
What I would say is you see, having seen the live recordings and that are on, some of them professionally done, some of them just from fans.
Yep.
Your live stuff is just as good as recorded. It's you come across live really, really well.
Oh, thank you. That's great to hear. Thank you.
What are your plans for touring moving on? Have you made any firm plans yet, or?
No, and the reason is I don't want to lock into anything until the album has its release date,
Right.
because you have to tour to support it. So I don't want to lock into anything till then. I'm hoping to get it out in the first quarter of 2024, and then subsequently I will tour from that point forward.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to hit the UK again. I want to go back to Ireland and Europe, and obviously here in the States. I'm hoping to do sort of a world tour sort of thing in bits and pieces throughout the year.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. I mean, having now been introduced to your music and having seen a few bits of you playing live, I'd love to come and see you live. I really would.
Oh, thank you.
It just looks like it's a really good night. Now, your influences, are they like classic rock sort of stuff, or?
Yeah, classic rock, classic metal, like your Iron Maiden, your Judas Priest, Scorpions. Huge influence of mine. Michael Schenker and Uli Roth, huge influences. Vinnie Moore, guitar wise, huge influence. Tony, Steve, Satriani, all these great guys, the Shrapnel era, the whole, love all those guys. And, but as far as musically, it's all about, who would be my biggest influence ever? My main would be Black Sabbath, followed by the Scorpions. Okay. I'd say those two really, really got to me the most.
Yeah. So, where do you see this going? I mean, you're you're starting a bit later than most people normally do.
I
So,
know.
are you looking for world domination and ending up doing like huge arena
No,
tours? Or
I'm
are
not
you?
Madonna. I'm not Madonna. I'm not looking for world domination. Really, it's a labor of love. And what I'm looking to do is just share my art with the people that want to hear it. As grand as it gets is fine with me. It's all fine at any level. I'm not looking to, you know, become some kind of monster, because I think also when you get to a certain point and it becomes very corporate,
Yeah,
that's when I'm not having fun anymore. I know what that looks like because I know it. I know a lot of people and I know what it looks like in the business. And I know when they lose control of everything and they're basically they become a slave to this
yeah,
monster they've created. And then it gets very commercial. And then when you get that big, of course, you've got a bunch of people that are like, they want to tear you down.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't need all of that. I really just want to um, go as far as I want to go in terms of retaining control over what I do artistically, um, my appearance, all of that. I don't want someone telling me what I have to look like. You know what I mean? I don't
yeah,
want someone telling me who I have to work with, who has to produce my record. I'm very happy with Brent Woods. The guy is a phenomenal, I call him the ears of steel. The guy is a phenomenal set of ears. And he's got a work ethic that is probably the most incredible I've ever seen. A
yeah.
very dependable, excellent, excellent producer. He's got phenomenal ideas. And that's why he works with great people like the Kiss guys and Foo Fighters. And, he's just so talented. So I don't want someone telling me just because I decide to, go on some huge corporate label. Okay, now this guy has to produce your record. And then all of a sudden my sound is going to become very commercial. And then all of a sudden it's not going to be me
Yeah.
anymore.
I know.
And
I know what you mean.
so no, world domination on a small scale, my way, fine, not their way.
I find it interesting the amount of times you see people. I mean, there are lots of examples. People who at one point seemed to be a huge name, and then
Mhm.
they kind of deliberately took a step back
Yeah.
because they were getting to a point where everything was being taken away from them, everything was being taken over for them, and
Yes.
they just wanted to step back and kind of
Mhm.
go back to playing. And you see them. I see videos of people now online that used to be people that would go out and buy albums, buy all this sort of thing, and they're playing sort of festivals, but they're playing festivals to like a few hundred people.
Yeah.
Whereas they used to be playing sort of like arena tours and things like this, and you think, but they look so much happier doing what they're doing.
They are. They are. Because, and that's another thing. I've played shows where there's like a couple of hundred people, and I've played in front of 40,000 people. And there's an intimacy factor when you
Yeah,
have the smaller groups. And then also, I like to go out and meet the fans after my show. I like to go and shake hands, take pictures, sign things. No, I do not charge for meet and greets. I just come out and do it because I appreciate. Let's put it this way: I could sit in a forest and bang a drum all day, but if no one's there to listen, what am I doing but making noise? Right?
yeah, yeah.
The fact that people are willing to come and listen means as much to me as my music means to them. And so I come out and I say, thank you for being here. I appreciate you, and let them have all the pictures and autographs in the world. I'm not
That's
going to
cool.
withhold any of that because of some corporate money monster. That's not what I'm doing it for.
No,
It's definitely not for the money. There's no money in this.
no, no.
I'm barely covering costs, if even that.
It's an
So,
interesting thing. It used to be that at one point you would make money from record sales and then go out
oh,
and do
not
the tour,
anymore.
and you had to scrabble to get money from the merchandising if you were lucky. Now you can't make money from anything.
No, and the venues are starting to want to take a piece of your merch now
Yeah,
because they have higher costs now because COVID ruined everything. They're made to carry insurances they didn't have to before. Their costs have gone up dramatically, and they're like, We
Yeah.
can't even afford to have you here unless you can sell out the place. And then, by the way, we need a piece of your merch. We want a piece of your the bands that do charge for meet and greets, which I don't frown upon. I
No,
personally don't do it, but I don't get me wrong. I don't say it's wrong to do. I don't.
you do what you
Okay.
need to
And
do.
I'm not saying I'm never going to do it. I may end up having to do it at some point. So I'm
Yeah.
saying that out loud right now. Um, I hope it never gets to that point, but it may. But I'll say this, they now want a piece of that as well. They
Yeah.
want merch, they want meet and greets, so at this point, how are you going to recover the tour costs when the ticket price is the same? Because in the metal community, they're not going to pay Taylor Swift ticket prices.
No, no.
Okay. So if the ticket prices are still going to be, $35 or whatever it is to come through the door of these places, and all of a sudden they want a piece of our merch, and anywhere that we used to make anything, because our streams they get a fraction of a penny for a stream. You get nothing for album. Nobody buys the album anymore because you can stream it everywhere.
Yeah.
So the only thing we have left to cover our cost is merch. So a lot of bands have been canceling tours because they're too expensive, especially overseas.
Yeah.
And it makes me really nervous about coming back, because I want to make sure I can at least cover my cost. I don't have to make anything as much as I need to just at least cover my cost. And the costs have gone up so much.
Yeah, no, I know.
So,
I mean, I've had a lot of problem talking to bands here in the UK.
yeah.
A lot of the bands have had a lot of problems because since we've done the thing of coming out of Europe, they
Yeah.
now have to pay more for insurance and for visas and all this sort of thing to go in and play in Europe. So
That's right.
yeah, they can't afford to tour Europe anymore. A lot of them.
Exactly. That's true. So one of the things I'm doing also in terms of schedule is I have no choice, because I can't record this album as fast as I want to. It's just not happening with all the people I work with and their schedules. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? So I'll get it done. I'll get it out in January. I'm hoping between now and 2024, when I start booking dates, this new era of it's hard to book a tour anymore because venues are struggling, artists are struggling, something will
yeah, yeah,
organize at some point. You know what I'm saying? Something will give somewhere. I mean, I would prefer to do my own dates and headline my shows. Sometimes it's actually more cost effective to jump on a ready-made tour and just be a special guest, which is what I've done historically.
yeah.
So, I mean, Megadeth still opens shows.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if Megadeth is still special guest of somebody, if they're still opening,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
There are very few bands now, I think, that can successfully do a world tour without having to,
Yeah.
take a loss for it.
Well, that's right. That's right. And a lot of labels have dropped, because they can't afford to sustain the artist, because metal is, unfortunately not king anymore like it was one day. It's all about the Beyoncés and the Taylor Swifts
I think
and
I think things go in cycles and waves, and I think we'll get back to that kind of people.
and that's what I'm hoping to help do.
Yeah, I
Bring a
think
lot of
people will
that.
get back to that, wanting that power and that kind of sound back in their lives.
Yeah.
So away from the business side of things and that sort of thing, musically,
Yeah.
what sort of things inspire you musically to write the songs you do? Because a lot of them seem to be quite personal sort of stories and things to do with you and your life.
They're all personal. And yeah, I've had quite a colorful life. I have a lot to talk about. So I could write 7 more albums on my life experiences. It's been a great life. I have absolutely zero regrets, and I'm very candid and open, and I will talk about anything. So I'll sing about it. No problem. So my lyrics come very easily to me. I just pick a topic, something I've gone through, and write about it. It's really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I mean, looking at listening to some of the songs, and there's a couple of lyric videos that you've
Yeah.
got out there. And looking at the lyrics, there's some. There seems to be a certain amount of bitterness behind some of the things you write about.
Absolutely. That's why the album's called Evil Enough.
Yeah,
Because, that first record, because I'm evil enough to talk about very candidly some, horrible things that have gone on in my life. Someone I thought that was a very, very close friend that I was, best friends with for over 30 years, all of a sudden turns around and shows me that they're nothing but a coattail riding opportunistic piece of crap. And I wrote about it. And they're out of my life, banished from my kingdom.
yeah,
Absolutely. Oh yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
I do like that song. I must admit that's a very it hits really hard.
You know, it took a few times singing that one live, especially the lyrics at the end, where I stopped getting so emotional because not, I still got the song out, but inside I was really fighting a lot of emotion.
Yeah,
In the beginning, when I was first touring, it was like, and it's still to this day is very hurtful, but I don't have to choke back like sadness anymore because I'm so far beyond that already. But still, yeah, these are all very, very personal songs.
I
You
think
know,
I think that comes across, and it because it's personal and because it's so obviously personal. Um, it makes a better connection with the listener and with the audience because they can relate to what you're saying. Because everyone's been through the kind of hurt and pain of being betrayed by friends or betrayed by lovers or things like that. So
right.
when you have that sort of thing going on in the lyrics, people can relate to that really easily.
Well, and that's also why, obviously, I'm not naming names. I'm using metaphors, because we're all just human beings and we
Yeah,
all suffer the same uh, drama in our lives with certain personalities. And so my songs, I write them and I let you know that they're very personal, but at the same time, they're very generalized so that, I've had women come up to me after my shows and tell me that, thank you for writing about that. Thank you for speaking about that because that happened to me and I felt ashamed and I didn't want to tell anybody, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and I said, no, it's empowering. You're just a human being. Humans do what humans do. So, believe me, if you've been, cheated on or something like that, that's a very common thing a lot of people have to deal with. And there's no shame in it, and there's no reason to not talk about it. And, I think it's incredibly important for people to understand that there's no such thing as like a guilty pleasure and when people do cheat and betray you, it's not a you problem, it's them having their
yeah,
own problem, and they're actually too cowardly to talk to you about it, so they go out and react.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's really the problem. It's them, it's not you.
yeah,
That's why some of the most beautiful women in the world, these starlets and people like that you find out they got cheated on or whatever, like Angelina Jolie or, all these beautiful people, because it has nothing to do with, oh, you weren't pretty enough, so he cheated on you, or you were, you know what I'm saying? You weren't good
yeah,
enough. It
yeah,
has
yeah,
nothing
yeah,
to do with that.
yeah,
So I've had women come and say, thank you for showing us that you can be strong, you can be proud, and you can own all the good things and the bad things in your life and turn it into something positive and relate to everybody and help people.
You are obviously, by the way you talk, the way you sing, by the things you sing about and what you do, you are obviously a very strong woman.
Oh yeah.
Um, do you have you experienced any problems being a woman in the music industry? Because I know that there are people out there who still have this idea that women either can't play rock music or women shouldn't be doing this sort of thing anyway, or treating women like just sort of pieces of meat rather than you know
I don't know why, because I've heard so much about that. But I've got to tell you, from day one, I have never been treated like a subhuman. I have always been treated with a great deal of respect by everyone, including the people that run the venues,
Wow.
promoters,
Yeah, that's good.
bookers. I have been treated with the utmost respect, but I think part of that is because I sort of have the kind of personality that commands it. Okay. I've got a fairly decent IQ. And I do come with a strength and a don't F with me attitude, that's sort of built in there while at the same time remaining classy and humble. But I have not dealt with that. I have not had any issues.
Oh, good. And the other thing is, I've come across people who seem to be that they seem to feel threatened by strong women who know what they want and go out and get it. There are lots of men lots of men who feel really threatened by that, and I really don't know why.
I've scared the living shit out of some people. That's true. That's true.
But it's never been a problem.
No, no, no.
I'm glad about that.
I think that also, not to say anything less about a lot of these women that are out there, but I think that a lot of them lack the amount of confidence that is required to be respected as you should. Part of it also, in all fairness, is that clearly I do exactly what the boys do.
Yeah.
At their level.
Yeah.
So what can they say?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, there is no less than here,
Yeah.
Exactly. I can lead a show. I can write the songs. I can execute them on stage in your face.
Well, I've never understood the attitude that I've come across it myself, people saying things to me, and I've never understood the attitude that people have that women can't play rock music. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I've seen over the years, I have seen so many talented women up on stage playing really good rock music. And
absolutely.
I do not understand how you could possibly have the attitude that they can't do it.
I think it's an old antiquated attitude that just stems all the way back to, the guy goes to work and the woman's at home waiting with a martini and the man's slippers. I've never lived my life that way. I'm married, but believe me, we run things together. We've each got one in the pants, nobody wears the pants entirely in this relationship. And that's why it's lasted so long. But all I got to say is, there are every day more and more and more talented women and girls that are showing up in this business. And I could not be more happy to see that happening. It's so interesting. Taking a hold of this and running with it. Yeah.
An interesting thing, since I've started doing this show, the amount of bands I've talked to, which are female led all the way, and it's they've got strong female singers, guitarists, drummers, bass players, and they some of them are all you got whole bands that are female, some of them are just sort of like one or two members, but they're all strong characters and they're all out there playing really good music really well. And I'm pleased to see that it's not a rare thing anymore. It's not something that needs to be commented on anymore. You don't even have to say the fact that somebody's female. You just have to say this person is up there, great singer, great guitarist, and that's it.
I mean, come on, how can music be gender specific? That's ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's always been ridiculous. But men run the labels, men run, had these positions of power because they used to not hire women in those jobs back then. So time had to happen, equality had to happen, women had to start focusing on having a career and not just raising the kids. And all of this took time. And then the YouTube generation, I mean, when I was a kid, when I wanted to learn to play, I just had the guitar and what I was hearing. So I played everything by ear. I'm totally self-taught. So, I can't read music. I write it, but I can't read it. So I write by recording straight in
Yeah.
to, you know what I'm saying? These kids, they've got me to watch, they've got anybody to watch, and they can just copy what they see
Yeah.
and hear. I mean, they have a major advantage. So you have a lot more um, kids, women, girls getting out there and making a go of it. And I think that's the greatest thing that's ever happened to music in the last 30 years
I
is more.
think we're in a situation now, which I love, which is the fact that um it's no longer a situation where if a daughter goes to their father or their mother and says, I want to learn to play guitar because I want to be in a rock band, it's kind of like, don't be so silly, you can't do that. You know, it's now,
It used to be that. It
yeah,
used to be. Um, you know, I know that, I would say, okay, well, I want to take lessons, for example, and it's like, you're not going to make any money doing that anyway. It's too hard. I don't know if that was just because in general that's true, or if it was because I was a girl or whatever. I don't know. Um, but by the time I graduated high school and my mom saw that, I had been playing for years already, on a hand-me-down guitar.
yeah,
Uh, she bought me a guitar for my graduation. So finally, it was taken seriously, but at the same time, it was still a very serious hobby.
yeah,
I,
yeah,
it's not something I wanted to do yet, but I think that these days, I don't think the girls are being told, it's a lost cause or whatever. I think that they're being given, a way to do it like
yeah,
anybody else,
yeah,
and get out there, and the best of luck to you, because it's a hard business for anyone, no matter what
uh,
gender you are. So
absolutely. It's
yeah.
it's a difficult business to make a living at nowadays. It's not like, I mean, unfortunately, the days like the 60s and the 70s when hundreds of people could pick up an instrument and set up a band and go out there and earn money. It just doesn't happen anymore.
If this was the 80s and I came out and did what I do, I'd have a jet with my name on it.
Yeah, definitely,
I had a
absolutely,
jet with my name on it, and I'd be parachuting into the Super Bowl too.
yeah.
But we're not those days anymore.
No, unfortunately, we're not.
And I'm not sorry I didn't do it back then either, because again, I've really made good choices for timing in my life, and this was the time.
I
And
think,
it was
yeah. I mean, I think it's you've made sensible choices for your life, and you've learnt your craft, and you've built your talent and done it so well. And now is a good time to be out there doing it. And yeah, you may not end up playing the Super Bowl and or playing huge arenas and that sort of thing, and as you say, dropping in by parachute. But to be honest, does anyone need to do that?
no, I'm sorry. And there's no, I'm very close to the business, and I know a lot of people in it. There's not to take anything away from anybody, but there's no honor in winning awards anymore because it's very political. It's no longer merit based. And there's no honor in these Super Bowl engagements, because again, those are all corporate decisions, and it's all very politically based. Again, it has nothing to do with merit. So,
Yeah,
you know, I don't I don't aspire to do any of those things, because I wouldn't feel like I earned it if I was just written there because I was fulfilling some sort of political agenda
yeah,
that the record label, the TV channel, and the NFL team have. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So let's leave that to those guys. And you know,
Well,
all I
well,
want to do is go out and rock wherever I can and make people happy. I just did this last tour in Europe in May of last year with Vinnie Moore, and I was so delighted to meet the fans out there. You know, so many people showed up wearing my t-shirts that they bought off of my internet store, or people that came to my show in Germany from like 2018,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
wearing shirts they bought that night. You know, guys showed up in, like, I think it was Slovakia, with homemade, and my face and my logo, and it was all homemade. I was so thrilled to see that kind of response, and
Yeah.
to see how many. I mean, the whole point is to move people the same way I was moved by my heroes, right?
Yeah.
It's a symbiotic relationship, and that's what I'm in it for, is to see them bopping their heads and singing my own words back to me. There's no greater feeling than that
No, no.
in music, than, you know, seeing that you've moved someone the same way you're moved by what you listen to. It's
Absolutely.
beautiful, you know, and that's what it's all for.
Well, I got to say, I hope you keep doing it for a long time, because I really like what you do. I wish I'd come to it earlier, to be honest. It's, you know, I'm a few years behind everybody else, but I've
Well,
got a bit
that's
of
okay.
catching up to
I
do.
mean, you know, that's okay. Think about how long some of the bands were around before you got into them. People don't realize Judas Priest started in the 60s.
Yeah, yeah,
Heard about them in the 80s, right? They started in the 60s. Their record, they had a record out in like 69 or 68. You know, it is, I don't care. I don't care when anyone shows up, as long as you show up eventually.
but no, it's really good to talk to you. I love what you do, and as I say, I hope you have masses of success with it, and keep going for a long time. Thank you very much for being on the show. It's been wonderful to talk to you. So everybody out there, check out Tara Lynch's stuff. I'll put links up, as I always do, to social media and to YouTube channels and everything like that. Watch out for tours, watch out for new albums and singles, and support her, because I think you'd be happy to do so because of the fact that she is incredibly talented, and she will be happy for you to do so because of the fact we need to spread the word of more good rock music coming out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
thank you very much. I've been Big Andy, and I will see you again on another show. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.